Nic Moore is the biggest pickup of Tennessee's 2025 class to this point.
Whoa.
And here's why. He's going to play center. Talked to sources this morning. He's slated to play center. Tennessee has not had the luxury of recruiting a center. They've recruited guards, and they've said, oh, by the way, Cooper, can you snap? Of course, they didn't recruit Cooper, the current staff, but the previous one did. This is a luxury item to be able to take Nic Moore out of Jeff County, who can snap, a 4-star prospect. Many of you will say in-state doesn't play the best talent. I'd rather have that Georgia guy. I understand. But in terms of what it means for the future of the program, Nic Moore is a monstrous pickup. He's very good. He's in-state. You didn't let him slip away. But the biggest factor is it's a luxury to be able to recruit a guy specifically to play center in 2026 or whenever he does. That, to me, is a signal of this program is built to the point that they can really get down to business.
So to get this out there real quick, just so in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, Nic Moore is a 4-star local offensive lineman who committed to Tennessee yesterday, or was it this morning? It was either yesterday or this morning. This morning, who committed to Tennessee Thursday morning.
It's right after we posted all the Tony Vitello articles that got pushed off the page. But anyway.
Yeah. So he is actually listed as he's a 2-sided War Daddy player because he plays defensive tackle too. And he's listed as a 3-star defensive tackle on Rivals. But you're right, he's specifically interior offensive line. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the offensive line in college. He's listed as 6'2.5", 300 pounds.
He is going to be a center. I will report that. He is going to be a center.
I believe you on that, and I'm with you. And I think this is a huge pickup for Tennessee. And let me be very clear on something. People come at me all the time because they think I devalue Tennessee prospects and think they're overrated. No, I think Tennessee has
the state of Tennessee.
Yes, the state of Tennessee. I think the state of Tennessee is limited in talent relative to Georgia, Alabama, and other places. But it's only the Nashville area that I think the kids are overrated. This is from Jefferson County and right outside of Knoxville. Those East Tennessee kids that are highly rated, Dave, they're almost East Tennessee, Chattanooga. They're almost always underrated. Always underrated. They almost always turn out, if they're 4-star, they're borderline 5 stars, quite honestly, typically. And so, I mean, I'm very, very high on, because the truth of the matter is there's not a lot of recruiting experts down there. So you know this, Dave. There's not enough people to overhype players from that region. And so
I'd never thought about that, but that's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah. So kids from East Tennessee that are 4 stars are almost always panning out. And so I am very high on Nic Moore. This is a very big pickup for Tennessee. And you're right. They finally may be starting to get guys that they can develop on the offensive line when they get to Knoxville. As we know, a few have been busts. Some of them have been just too soft from what we all understand to be pushed and developed. But if you're in the Knoxville area, I think you're more hyper aware of what Josh Heupel's running and what he's expecting than if you're.
Yeah, I agree. Boy, great point by Dylan. I want to tackle after 30 seconds for my friend Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. Well, I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
And we call him Dylan, one of our better posters on the board, saying the thing I really like is we offered Nick really late and still got him. We busted in the front door and said, come on, and now he's coming. These are the things Bama used to do. Dylan, I'm stealing that for my column that I'm writing later today for Hooker's Corner, our Patreon page. We would love for you to join. But Caleb, that's a great point. Bama would just swoop in, take your local guy, and say, I know you put all these hours of work into recruiting for him, but tough, you know what? That's what Bama used to do.
Oh, yeah. They did that consistently. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest problems and it was an in-state kids. You know this, Dave, better than I do. For a period of time, particularly when particular orange pants coach was at Tennessee, Chattanooga was Alabama country, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. So was Nashville. But I know you don't think as highly of those guys, but yeah.
Well, Nashville was a little more national. Like a lot of Nashville kids went, Jalen Ramsey went to Florida State, like things like that. Alabama, Chattanooga was basically in-state talent for Alabama. And for those who don't know the history of this, you can go back to the 60s. Philip Fulmer almost committed to Alabama because Bear Bryant made a point to recruit that southern border of the state of Tennessee. And so, everybody talks about securing the southern border. Tennessee needs to do a good job of securing its southern border from Alabama, because Alabama has been picking players off from there for far too long. And you're right. For Tennessee to be able to keep this kid now, it's more Knoxville, obviously not southern border of Tennessee, but still, I think this is part of a trend. And I think what you're seeing, one of the benefits, and I will give you this, I think there's a big benefit to getting an in-state kid who is a 5-star like George McIntyre, Dave. Because let's be honest, George McIntyre, guys like that are connected to everybody in the state of Tennessee, from Memphis to Sevierville.
And quarterback and 5-star, it almost hurts you more than it helps you if you lose him in recruiting. It just is a bad look. Oh, they lost a 5-star guy from their own state. They must be having problems. That's what every negative recruiting coach would say. And this just in, they all recruit negatively to some extent. Ray Varner Ford, we love them. They are absolutely phenomenal. Let me tell you a little bit about Ray Varner Ford.
Big Ben 4x4, $29,743. A 2024 T250 low roof cargo van, $51,955. 24 model Ford F-150 4x4 crew cab, $46,929. Ray Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
All right, so Tennessee recruiting. I think Nic Moore is a monster pickup. I kind of thought I might get a little pushback from you, Caleb, saying that he's a local guy, but I think this is an all-around big pickup that sometimes flies under the radar. Listen, this is a 4-star guy in your backyard that's coached by Spencer Riley, who Caleb loves the Vols still to this very day, is a regular friend of the program, played center for Tennessee. You can't lose this guy. You just can't.
No, you can't. And Dave, who's the last local kid that didn't live up to his star rating?
You mean at Tennessee?
At Tennessee.
I don't know.
They're never overrated in Knoxville, ever.
Huh. I hadn't thought about that.
Knoxville kids are almost always underrated.
Or appropriately rated.
Never overrated. Never.
All right. Left brain, read the commercial. Right brain, think about what Caleb's saying. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED for 10% off. Guys, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there right now. Trust the Hemp House. Trust somebody that we trust, because hemphousechat.com will take care of you. Man, when I think about Knoxville guys that have busted, I can only think about Knoxville guys that have gone elsewhere and been very good. Going back to Randall Cobb, who is Alcoa, but that's practically Knoxville, going to T. Higgins, who's about to get paid in the NFL. Amari Rogers. I'm missing the center that went to Clemson who won a national title. I can't really think of a 4-star-ish guys. Now, for some reason, Knoxville doesn't get a lot of 5-stars, and I don't know why. But I guess Walter Nolan panned out as well. I can't think of a bust. I can't, Caleb. You have.
And Walter Nolan doesn't really count either.
You've completely. Well, yeah, because he wasn't from Knoxville, but you've completely stumped me in recruiting that I covered for like 15 years. So I don't know or 20 years. I'm stumped.
East Tennessee kids are always properly rated. Always. It's a very underrated football part of the country. It's not like it's not like a Georgia, and that's Tennessee's problem. Like it's not like a giant pipeline that you can build a championship team around. But the kids that do come out of there that are highly rated almost always work out. I mean, always.
Why do you think that is, though? Is it being in the shadow of Neyland Stadium? Is that part of it? And you see football, and football's so big. Football's 10 times bigger in Knoxville than it is in Chattanooga. I've lived in both. Crazy.
Yeah, I just think that I talk about this. I think there aren't enough recruiting experts there, so they don't properly value kids coming from those areas. I think there's a lot of, where I'll just put it out this way, Dave, where the camps are and where the hotbed for coverage is going to skew things a certain way. The camps and the hotbed for coverage are mostly Nashville and Atlanta. Now, the Atlanta area is so gigantic, it's impossible for it to, and also the kids still are deep-seated in the South. Many of the kids, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents are Southerners to the core, so the talent is there. And where they miss with the Nashville kids, the reason I say they miss with the Nashville kids a lot is a lot of the Nashville kids, it's a growing population of people from the East Coast whose parents never cared about football. So the competition still hasn't caught up the way it has where if you're in Atlanta with Georgia or in Birmingham with Alabama. And so I think that they just don't have a lot of press in Knoxville or Chattanooga to properly evaluate, and there aren't enough camps to evaluate the kids.
Interesting.